3, 2, 1. All right, guys, we are in Malaysia with Jianggan, live in the studio. I apologize. We're doing a hot podcast. We're going to try to be quick today. I was walking back and forth from home in the office, so I'm sweating like crazy. But everyone seems to be okay otherwise.
Delivering coffee, delivering water, delivering everything.
It's really not that bad.
Where's the water?
Take our time.
Yeah, good question.
Joon hijacked it.
Okay, just put it up here. All right.
You drank half of it.
No.
Get closer to the mic, Jianggan. You got to adjust.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
afraid
no,
I'm-
you want to go up like that. Yeah.
Oh.
It's here. Okay, so I guess we are here to talk about the election. Is that what we're here? Is that what we came?
I don't know. Are we?
Yeah, I think Dave was really happy with the results.
Just to be clear.
He's been calling it for years.
Yes, thank you. I just like to be proven right.
Yeah.
So I'm an outsider, and Joon wants to be insider. You guys are insiders.
June wants to be an
So,
insider?
I mean,
I just like
having the
the
ability
fact.
to vote, right?
No, I'm more like interested in the process of the democracy itself, right? On how it turned out, where the 15 million missing democratic votes went compared to 2020. That's an unanswered question.
And I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories in the past few days, and want to validate with you guys to see what you guys
So we're
think.
going to do blah, blah, blah. Is
Oh,
that what
really?
it-
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what? What kind
I
of
mean,
conspiracy?
yeah,
Since
What kind
you're
of
two
conspiracy?
Americans, right? No.
First, Biden is a double agent.
Where is this source?
No,
For the Republican Party?
Did you watch his video like after the election? And he looks
Sober.
more than sober, sharp.
Okay,
He was
what-
like
Sharp.
What media consumption? Because I think most people here had a very bad view of Biden, right?
I watched that video. I mean, it was not long. It's like 9 minutes, right? I mean, he sort of first galloped to the podium, and then he laughed and he
Well,
spoke.
Maybe because he
and
gave
he
up
was
already.
jolly.
Yeah, he's happy. Life's like better.
Why?
Because he doesn't have to deal
he's
with this
like
bullshit
thinking,
anymore. It was crazy.
Nobody
right?
is controlling me anymore. I can be myself.
Yeah, he doesn't have to follow the party lines. I mean,
Yeah.
like, also, I've heard a lot of like liberal media podcasts.
Maybe
So-
he has a "I told you so" kind of face. Don't put Kamala, you will lose. And he's
Oh,
like,
I don't know about that.
I'm
I mean,
vindicated.
But I've heard a lot of like credible people that you probably would agree, like a Reid Hoffman type, right? Where they said if they
Credible?
have conversations with him, he's, of course he's old and slow, but he's like very lucid. So I think it depends on your media consumption. Like you guys are probably just watching video clips of him like fumbling through things, but like from George Bush to like other presidents too.
So the
they have
theory
this
I
problem.
heard is that the whole debate, he made it up. I mean, he was pretending to be slow and fumble.
I don't think so.
And,
That's just nonsense.
And the theory is that the whole thing about Trump supporters being garbage was deliberate.
But what's so the thing with these conspiracy
So he
theories
wanted to
is,
throw it.
is what would his incentives be? Like who?
Yeah.
Like why would he do it?
Occam's razor.
According to conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah, according yeah.
To save Hunter Biden.
To
What? That makes,
I'm so confused.
What are you reading? Are you reading Breitbart?
yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
I know. I'm trying to understand. I'm outsider. I mean, I've not followed that as much as you guys do. I mean, you guys have been following that for like 40 years, right?
No.
30 years, 20 years, whatever. Yeah.
Well, we only started
More-
voting at 18,
like-
and
like
then
at
my
least 10
political
times
conscience
than
is
I did.
barely
Yeah.
there still.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So
So
that makes no sense.
no. I mean, I'm just trying to understand. I mean, what's the incentive for Biden, and how do you guys see him? And
But you're assuming he's done it like on purpose, like he was slow
No,
one day and then
no,
lucid the other day.
I didn't assume. I just said this is conspiracy theory I've
Okay,
read.
okay.
Yeah. And I have other conspiracy theories that I want to validate with you guys.
Okay, well that
What's the next one? What's the next one?
Okay, so first off, the first one's stupid. It makes no sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because like, of course, if he's president, it'd be even more safe for Hunter Biden. Like, why would he put the Republicans in power to save his son?
Because
That's
he knew he couldn't
ridiculous.
win.
But then he makes everyone hate him, so then they all hate him more and go after Hunter Biden. This makes no sense.
No, but I mean, if you look
Where
at
did you hear this from?
yeah, well, I'm just so confused. None of this makes sense. If you think critically about it for like 5 seconds, it doesn't make sense.
yeah, I mean,
This is like the Trump shot himself conspiracy theory. It also doesn't make sense if you think about it for more than 5 seconds.
so you think he was really slow, and he performed to his best. He tried his best during the debate, and the whole thing about the garbage was not deliberate.
Wait, hold on. Let's give some context for the audience. What is this garbage
There's
thing?
multiple things here.
Wait,
Oh,
yeah.
You don't know the garbage thing?
No, let's in case the audience doesn't know. Let's give some context. Not everyone follows American politics.
So pretty close towards the end of the election, after Trump's Madison Square Garden rally, he was at some event for the campaign, and he basically called, not basically, he literally called people that support Trump garbage.
Okay.
And then, funny enough, Donald Trump then rented a garbage truck the next day
and drove it around. Everyone was wearing
the-
garbage bags.
and drove it around New York City.
Oh my God.
That's genius marketing, actually.
It's fucking brilliant.
No, but then what Biden said in a sort of televised video, right?
Okay.
He said the real garbage is the Trump supporters.
Yeah, he called them
Yeah,
garbage.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah. Yeah. Well, remember, why would he do that? Because he didn't appear on TV like since Kamala was like the.
He's just old and not giving a fuck anymore.
I know, I'm just curious about these turn of events. Yeah.
Yeah, the more Jianggan, speaks, right, the
Yeah.
more it seems that, he came out deliberately to throw the Kamala
Oh my
off.
God, you love conspiracy theories too.
No, it's
though.
not it's conspiracy. He
Because
he came out on air and spoke those words, and these are words not written on the teleprompter, right? It's very deliberate.
But why would he do that? I mean,
Okay, but like, say if you follow the narrative that where you guys say he's this old guy who's going senile, that kind of tracks, doesn't it? If that's the truth.
But if you look at him yesterday, he's clearly not senile.
no, but you have moments.
Yeah, you have
when
mo-
you're
yeah.
going senile, you have moments.
And also, like,
you're
he's
not senile all
he's
the time.
free from the shackles of all this.
Okay, let me ask,
Yes. So I do believe he's free from the shackles, right?
let me ask you another question. I mean, is Kim Jong-un crazy?
Definitely
who?
no. He's
Kim
super
Jong-un,
smart.
yeah.
It's kind of a loaded
I don't
question.
think so.
right?
He's
Is
not
Trump
crazy.
crazy?
No,
Okay.
I don't think any of these people were crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they're rational actors with their
Yeah.
own
Well,
they have
incentives.
incentives.
So
Yeah,
you
they have
don't
strong
necessarily
incentives,
understand.
So I can say like Biden is also a rational actor.
Yeah, but why
And
would
whatever he
with
says
this
is
double-
probably. I mean, not double agent. I think that's probably
stupid.
like yeah.
So which narrative
No,
are you?
I agree that he's probably a rational actor, but the double agent
Yeah.
thing's
So what I'm
stupid.
saying is that what he said about Trump supporters being garbage, that might be deliberate.
Okay, but are you sticking by the narrative that he's like a senile, old, slow man who had a moment of clarity and it was like, garbage people?
No, but you're talking about three separate events, right? Because you're conflating his debate performance,
Yeah.
the garbage
Correct. I
moment,
actually think
and then
you're
you're
right.
talking
Yeah.
about
These are all very
this
different things.
Other performance that I didn't see the other day, right?
No,
So
what
I
I'm saying
think
is
you have
that,
to, like,
I mean,
you
the-
can't
the-
conflate the three together.
Why?
Okay, well, so
I mean,
so here's okay.
Different context.
It's
Different
all
context matters.
If you are a shrewd political actor, and I mean you are actor, you act, and you probably have lots of patience to let your act play out.
So, number one, Joe Biden has a history of saying, basically, they're called gaffes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's-
So then
if you Google Joe
Yeah, I
Biden
know.
gaffe, there is like a gigantic list of things that he said in the past that he didn't really mean to say or said it the wrong way.
Maybe he
Or-
meant to say it.
But also, he's, I don't buy this argument. So okay,
Yeah.
if you really want to get into it, you have to look at what's also happening in liberal media right now. So ever since Kamala lost, basically the Democratic Party has kind of turned on itself, looking for a blame victim, and pretty high on that list. I would say probably number one on the list of people that they're blaming is Joe Biden, and this is going to very negatively impact his legacy going forward, right? So, if we establish that as baseline fact, right, this is not subjective. This is what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And then if you think about someone who's a career politician who spent his life in public service, which you could make an argument why people do that. So power, money, but also, legacy is a big part of that,
Yeah.
right? They want to leave something behind. And so now that he's already kind of created, whether true or not, this sort of fiasco, why would he further tarnish his reputation or what's left of his reputation by pretending like doing this double agent, willingly doing this? That doesn't make sense, right?
If you watch the video yesterday, I mean, you can interpret that as he's pretending something else, or he stopped pretending.
No,
which
but
he
like,
had been doing for the last-
old people, like with old people when you get to that age and mental decline, you have moments. It's never like 100% senile or 100% lucid, right? There's moments where you're good. There's moments where you're bad.
There's different contexts too. Like the stuff about the debate, right? He's president. He has to be acting president. He's prepared for that.
It's 2.5 hours.
And he's old, right? And now, like, there's none of that anymore. Like, he already had given.
Also, very important. What time of day was this event?
It's during the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course,
No,
it's on-
yeah, no, it does
No one's
matter.
watching?
No, it does matter because he basically, the debate was like at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, he was
It
more energy.
He was tired. No, we joke about this, but it actually does matter.
I mean,
if you look
yeah,
at his presidency,
yeah.
basically most of his major things are during the day. It's like
that
pretty.
makes sense.
It's a pretty
Strategic,
well-known rumor in the White House that he stops working at like 5 p.m.
Okay.
No, it's not a joke. This actually matters.
So all he
makes
is
sense.
showing. I mean, maybe you can play like a short clip of that video.
Okay.
And
Here it is.
and
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Please. Thank you. Good to see this cabinet and the staff together here. Thank you.
and he was
Cut
like
it in.
jolly. He was running towards the podium, and he laughed. I mean, it's
It probably doesn't give a fucking.
He's reconnecting
it's
with
normal.
life.
Yeah.
He's like, he doesn't have to be president anymore or worry about dealing with all this stress.
But he's also a bit angry. He's obviously very angry.
Oh, sure, I'm sure,
Right? He's
yeah.
bitter. Like he's very.
Party turned on him.
Yeah, the party turned on him. And then again, if you look at sort of what's kind of
They broke tradition.
the Democrats are eating themselves, right? But people in the Biden camp are like, oh, we could have won. And
So
so
there's a lot of good post analysis coming out.
yeah, I mean, so I think this is just he's probably very angry about this, and it's probably for
Okay.
him a bit cathartic to just be like, F off.
Do we want to keep going down the list of your conspiracies and make
Yeah,
this
what else
more?
you got?
What else you
Yeah,
got?
yeah,
Or do you
yeah.
want to talk
What else you
about
got?
more points about it or what?
I have a few more.
Pick one more.
Okay.
Pick your favorite one out of your long list of conspiracy theories.
Do you have a list of these?
No,
What are you doing in Singapore?
Yeah, how's business, man? You're very free.
This is pretty good. Yeah.
That's why
but it's towards the end of the
he's
year.
bought a lot
you
of
know.
leisure time.
He's media, so
Okay, second one. This is the blog post. I mean, it was in Chinese. I read sometime in, I think, January 2020 or 2021. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that blog post was saying that, I mean, it was written by somebody who's second generation. I mean, like she, right? Who's like son of some revolutionary, and he wrote in the
Red
blog
Prince?
saying that, yeah, princeling. Yeah,
He's a princeling?
So
Okay.
he's a princeling, and he wrote that I mean, the reason why Trump is inciting all this, sort of election fraud allegation and riot or whatever, is that he's preparing for 2024. So that post was written in January 2020, and he said, I mean, the only he needs to make sure that his thought spotters have some grievance that allows him to come back, and that was written in 2021. Sorry,
You
January.
think he's not had much foresight? Like
So that's the thing I was thinking
Yeah.
about. I mean, because
That's interesting.
because people keep portraying Trump as someone who is,
not a deep strategist.
not a deep strategist, who is impatient,
Off the cuff.
off the cuff and stuff. But if you look at lots of things that he has been doing for the last 4 years, and some people are saying that it's because, I mean, Democrats kept persecuting him, so that, I mean, he had to sort of defend himself. But on the other hand, it could be that, I mean, people knew that he had all these things in him, so that they tried to stop him. That's another conspiracy theory.
I guess I'm sure if
So
I'm
the
buying
conspiracy.
it.
So the conspiracy theory is that he denied the election because he wanted to create controversy
The context to come back.
to come back.
and
I think the larger conspiracy theory that you guys have to understand is like, these are all shows that they put for you to see.
Yeah.
Democrats versus Republicans, the whole election process. It's all a show, right? You get them rile up, vote. It feels like you've won, your candidate has won, but fundamentally, nothing changes.
Well, what's your point?
That's the whole point, right? The whole election cycle, where they put up this Democrats versus Republicans, all this drama in between, and finally the champion of the people won, Trump in his case.
Okay.
Right? He gets elected, he gets back in the office, right?
Okay.
But fundamentally, nothing still changes.
I mean, nothing-
The policy of the United States, right? It's not controlled by these two presidents, yeah? That's always the biggest conspiracy that people put out there.
You're getting
Yeah.
you were going to the deep state.
It is a deep
No,
state.
it is a deep state. No,
Come
no,
on,
no.
Trump himself has admitted
No,
that he
there's
wants
a
to
deep
crush
state.
the deep state.
There's a
right?
deep state. I agree
yeah,
with you.
So it's
I agree
all,
with you.
it's all nothing. He's what he can do.
But,
you
okay,
know,
but-
it's
And
really-
you remember somebody said in my WhatsApp group saying that Trump will get assassinated in, I don't know, a year and a half and or
JD
two.
Vance become president.
We joked about
I mean, at that time I was thinking that okay, maybe the person who said it as a leftist and he really hates Trump. But on the other hand, I think it might be something deeper than that. So
Well,
Because-
he's gonna release the JFK files, so maybe the CIA killed JFK, and then they'll kill him next.
yeah, to prevent him
To
from
prevent
releasing
him
the-
from releasing the files.
releasing the JFK files.
Oh dear, this has really become blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I mean,
this is what you wanted to talk about.
I'm from outside. I'm just want to, want
It's a
to
nice
hear
cover
what
you
you
got there,
guys think
Jianggan.
about it.
I mean,
So wait, so the question is, do you think Trump is a long-term deep strategist that is a master of his craft and he did this on purpose?
of course, the whole theatrics of it, the strategy behind this party and that party.
I mean-
He has an office of people running the campaign, right? You can't say that there are no deep thinkers there. There
No, I'm
must
not-
be.
Were we talking about Trump or are we talking about his team, his cabinet?
Both teams have their own strategies and
June,
a way.
do you have a point that everybody that you see out there is a puppet?
I really think so as of now.
I think that's what
yes.
he thinks, actually. Yeah.
yeah.
Because the important matters
about
don't
right.
seem to change, right? Less tax, here, war there, stuff like that.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, on that point, I probably agree that there are, in many ways, there's really not a big difference fundamentally
Yeah,
between the two
yeah.
parties. And most of what they argue about these days are these social issues, right? Like,
That's how you get elected, right?
no,
Just
but
the
I mean,
demeanor
if you look at just like the important stuff, like the important things, right?
Cost of living.
Okay, so for example, I'll
foreign
give you a good
policy.
one, right? So 08 financial crisis, total disaster. No, I'm serious.
No, I know.
Barack
I can see where you're going.
Barack
Yeah,
Obama
yeah,
comes
yeah.
in as this
Yeah.
man of hope and change and blah blah blah.
But what did he change?
And
Yeah.
what did he actually change? He literally appoints the exact same people from the previous administration into his new administration.
Yeah.
It's like the FCC guys, the FTC guys. It's all the same people. That doesn't change.
You mean like the fundamental
Jerome
pillars
Powell?
around the
Jerome
machine?
Powell. Yeah, the
Yeah.
fundamental guys. The
He
things
said
that
he will
really
not quit,
matter
huh? Yeah.
in the country, right? Not the social issues. Jerome Powell is a Trump appointee. Biden kept him on, and Trump will most likely keep him on again. And you could argue that
But it's
Jerome
pro-
Powell is arguably
There's good
the
reason.
most powerful person
Yeah.
in the country.
Yeah, that's
because he
probably why,
controls the
though,
Fed.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. It's-
yeah.
yeah, so what
I-
he's saying is,
Yeah.
a lot of the there's two things I think we're talking about here. Number one, yes,
Didn't Jerome Powell just say, on live TV when the reporter asked him, right? If Trump asked you to resign, would you do it? And he says, no.
yeah, but he also is not going to. He's originally a Trump guy.
Yeah,
Trump
yeah.
appointed him 10 years ago, or however long it's been, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of these core things, they don't actually change, right? And then there's another point where you have the administrative state, which I also believe exists, where your administration has grown so large, there's so many people, and it creates a gravity on its own,
we talked about
where
that.
it doesn't actually matter what the top guy says. And I've seen this even in
Yeah.
much smaller organizations,
Yep.
like in the context of a business, right? If you
Yeah.
have a business that's like a few thousand people, the owner, the CEO comes in and goes, okay, I want to do this. And then all the senior execs in the room, when the owner is there, they're like, yes, good idea. I will implement this for you, sir. And then they just, because it conflicts with a personal agenda,
Yeah.
they'll figure out a bunch of ways to slow roll it,
Yeah.
not do it, come up with a bunch of excuses. And then 6 months later,
didn't achieve
when they're
anything.
like, is that project done? They're like, oh, because of this, and this. And you blame some other department
Yeah.
and it never gets done.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just a small example, but that definitely
Yeah.
exists in a bureaucracy as large as the US government. So
but-
I agree with him.
So,
Yeah.
but then
Plus,
Yep.
there's a matter that Trump is a lame duck now, right?
You mean Biden's a lame duck?
Biden.
No, Trump has no more next term, so he's his
Oh.
last term ever.
Oh,
Yeah, so
So he can do things.
He can do things.
Yeah.
No, the
He
argument
can
is
do
he can
things.
actually do things. He doesn't
the
care
argument
anymore.
is always a lame
Especially
duck
as a
can't do
supermajority.
things.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a supermajority. He has a majority. There's a difference.
Yeah.
the House not decided yet.
Well, supermajority means he can overcome the filibuster.
Oh, I see.
He doesn't actually have. He has a majority.
Yeah,
Doesn't.
majority, yeah.
Yeah, not to be pedantic, but it
No,
makes
that's
a
fine.
difference.
It does matter. It does matter.
So we'll talk about this deep state organizational inertia. I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of this book called 1587, A Year No Significance.
No.
1587. What
Tell us
happened
about
then?
Yeah, tell us
Huh?
about it.
It was written by this Taiwanese historian called Ray Huan, and it was the 15th year of
Ming Dynasty.
Of a particular emperor, and that emperor, I mean, just refused to go to meet his ministers because he said, I mean, whatever I want to do, nothing gets done. I mean, people always like tell me that, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, and he's not the first generation revolutionary, right? He was brought in this palace, and everything was like already there when he assumed power, and it's just impossible for him to change things. And like for decades, he didn't show up. And the whole decay of Ming Dynasty was because, I mean, nobody could change anything.
Yep.
And then the Manchus rose, and of course people saw this threat coming, and nobody could do anything because whatever you try to do, I mean, you have so much resistance
from the bureaucrats.
from all the people, and you can say that they collude with each other, but it's just the system, right? The system where nobody can actually punch through and make some radical change, unless some external forces coming with violence.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Well, I think that's what Trump represents. It's maybe not, well, maybe with violence.
So
actually,
so we say the deep state. I mean, it's always there, right? I mean, when Trump tries to change things, and he tried in the first term. I mean, look at all this.
The guys in the blue suits come and say, "No, President, we can't do that."
And with all these fights of him with the senior appointees, of all these firings and stuff.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of a lot of the basis of Project 2025 and why it was so controversial. It's a reclassification of, I think, millions of federal employees as presidential appointments. So then that actually does give him, as the executive, power to
do whatever
cut who he wants. That's part of that's one of the. I think yes, you're right. He tried to do it. I think everyone kind of underestimates the power of the bureaucratic state when they first come in. Everyone does, right? I think this is what happens. You're like Barack Obama is a good example, right? I mean, he gets in, he's like bright eyes, mandate, super. He actually had a super majority, I believe.
Yeah.
And then he tries to change things, and basically all the bureaucracy kind of swallowed him, right? And I think that's the lesson that was taken away in the 4 years between his first presidency and when he comes back this time. Is how to dismantle it, actually.
So we're at the point of the American empire where you would need some crazy, massive exogenous shock to the system to probably reset everything. If not, it's just going to be a lot of this very slow, not really changing kind of.
They always say,
system.
democracy degrades to a tyranny before it gets reset, right? Something like that.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
But then you have to fundamentally believe like it didn't really matter. Like the president is just a veneer, right? And then it didn't matter who really won. Then, if you follow that logic, is that correct?
No, absolutely incorrect.
And then?
I think.
Why? Yeah. So because
so I've explained.
Like, what does the deep state do? Then what does the president do? That
right? Okay, so
where it matters.
You have to look at the way I look at each presidential election and who wins is it's essentially a choice between institution versus outsider, right? Status quo versus
Not always, right?
I mean,
historically,
typically it's presented.
Now,
it's
yes.
presented. It's presented that way. No.
Okay.
If somebody,
Reagan. Bush won. Clinton. Bush is coming.
Clinton was the outsider.
Yeah, Clinton is the outsider. Clinton v. Well, not Clinton because Gore. Sorry, Gore v. Bush, right?
Yeah.
Bush v. Obama, and then you just
run. I see what you mean.
You run through each election in recent memory, as long as I can remember, right? So mine will be starting from Bush 1. It's always a question of institutional status quo versus change.
That's kind of true. And then I guess for the past few
and
cycles,
then you can sort of, and this is why I've been saying that why Trump was going to win these last couple of
What
years
is
you look at the status
institutional
quo.
status quo?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what
So
are
if
the
you look
goals
at-
of them?
Well, so a couple things. Let me finish my point first. So the reason I've been saying that Trump's going to win the last 4 years is you just look at how many people are unhappy with the status quo.
Yes.
Like the exit polling or the current polling, I think like the disapproval rate of the current administration is like 65%. There's no way you can win an election if 65% of the population thinks you're doing a crappy job.
polling usually is very accurate.
Yeah, well,
Well, I
exit.
mean-
Those are exit. No, those are exit polls.
Okay.
Right. So this is after they
Oh,
voted.
you're just talking. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
but
talking
even-
about now. Okay.
Yeah, but no, even prior,
I thought you meant
even
before.
prior, right?
Yeah.
There's always very simple questionnaires that are asked, and this is it's kind of nonpartisan, but it asks, do you think America is on the right or wrong track, right? And for the last 4 years, that number has just been like straight off a cliff,
Yeah.
right? And so and then that's related to inflation and a bunch of other things, but essentially it's impossible for a status quo, for the institution guy to win when there's such little belief in the institution.
Yeah.
Right. So that's sort of like the backdrop, right? That I looked at this is Kamala Harris / Joe Biden is the institution candidate. People will kind of
Correct.
hate what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And then he kind of comes in with a mandate. Like
Yeah.
everyone goes, no, we fucking hate this. Get out.
Yeah, and the Democratic Party probably gaffed that since Bernie. They've kept picking institutional.
Correct. There's been like 10 years essentially of people telling the Democrats we don't want another institution status quo. We want significant change. And I think one of the reasons, and I think one of the reasons why Donald Trump is where he is you've been ignored for 10 years.
Yeah.
You just kind of keep getting more and more aggressive or fanaticized.
How do you explain Trump's loss versus Biden then? Like, what's your understanding of that?
COVID. I really do think it's COVID. Because going into it for the first
That's a
few
good
years,
point, yeah.
first few years of his administration, it was going pretty well. Economy was doing well. People were feeling okay about it, and then COVID comes, and COVID is a black swan event, right?
And it's something that is very hard for anyone to perform well in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's not enough. It's a low information environment. No one knows anything. Kind of all trying to muddle through it.
Yeah.
And that was the last year of his administration and recency bias and COVID. I really think if COVID had not happened, he would have just had 2 consecutive terms.
So tie back to the point. So why? So we have the institutional candidate versus the outsider, but then why does the presidency matter versus the deep state?
Well, so I think this is potentially a question of like moment in time versus man in history question. And I think we've reached the point where something has to change in either this cycle or the next cycle. And I think Trump just is a representative. I don't necessarily think it's him as a singular person, but I think we've reached a point in history where we need someone to come in.
Just your mic?
We need someone to come in.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean,
realign.
Realign.
What he has done, or what the people around him have done over the last few years of taking total control of the Republican Party. I mean, I watched I don't know, probably half of the speeches live during the RNC, and you see that everybody seems crazy.
You have a lot of that. You have a lot of fortitude.
Yeah, I mean,
I had to watch a speech on like 2x speed to get through it.
No, because otherwise you read all this news, all this analysis. You spend more time on it, you don't get the real gist. You don't get the real feeling, and his ability or his team's ability to actually rein control of the Republican Party. I mean, do you think that's like a sign of how deep a strategist and he is, or is it just a bit of luck?
I think it's a bit of skill. I think he has a unique skill to be able to read the room very well and capture
intuitively. Do you think?
I think it's intuitive.
I think it's intuitive too.
To capture like the zeitgeist of the current environment, and I think that's what he is. Right? He's managed to weaponize or sort of lasso this feeling of anxiety, of frustration, and disappointment with the system, and he's channeled that into his campaign, and that's I think what he's really good at.
I think you're hitting on something point, because some articles I read pointed that out, where his campaign strategy is just vastly different from like Kamala Harris, and you could see like in how he kind of went about and he like referenced his, he talked to his sons, right? So like he would do. Podcast. He did the podcasts, right?
That's a big story this year.
Right?
This cycle,
and
the podcast
and also
selection.
his whole cabinet, right?
Yep.
And then and that was from the youngest son,
Barron.
Barron, yeah. Like, apparently that was like Barron's suggestion, like go on like to these podcasts to do this, and then
probably makes
and then
sense.
he like tapped, of course, all his other sons too. So like he's like be able to read that really well. And where if you look at like the Kamala Harris, it was just actually like seemed right out of the playbook, right? Let's go to McDonald's, but then they had like the Kool-Aid breakout, and then it's like she didn't do enough. Like apparently she pulled she tested really well with videos of her talking authentically herself, but her campaign management chose not to run any ads or videos with her in it. Right?
I mean, I think with everything in this, with Kamala Harris and this Democratic campaign, there's 2 things you have to look at. There's the message, and then there's the messenger, right?
Correct.
And so my first contention is just given how bad the administration was received, how unpopular it was, I think it would have been basically impossible for anyone that was a representation of an institution to win. therefore it makes
Yeah.
it almost impossible for Kamala to win because she is
Yeah,
part.
correct.
The
She
only
is an institution,
correct. I think the only way they could have actually won is like if we brought Bernie
Yeah.
back out.
Yeah, correct.
And then
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
seriously, if they ran Bernie again, and
Yeah.
then Bernie, I think actually could.
He
'cause
probably
he's-
could have done it. Yeah.
He might have been able to do it, right? And then there's the question. So that's the message part, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the question of the messenger, and I think everyone can sort of agree that she's deeply flawed. She's not the best. They could have brought someone much better.
Yeah,
as
but
the messenger.
I thought about that, and I did a lot of research into kind of like the claims you said, like having no track records. I mean, she does have a real track record, but it's not one that it's a very strong fundamental place of like a backbone or values. Like when she was DA to Attorney General, right? I think she did chameleon with the times, but of course, like your job as a politician is to get reelected, and so she did get reelected from a DA to AG to a senator, right? So she did all the right things. So I think to your point, though, she is very much institution.
Yeah.
Right. Right. But like, it's not like she, like all the talking points from the media was like, oh, she has no record. She does nothing. She has done stuff, but it's just like stuff you may not agree with. Right. Or it's just flip flopped a lot. Right.
You have to also remember that she is not a primary national level.
Yeah. She
politician.
wasn't like, yeah, to
When
your
I say
point,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
AG, blah blah blah, district senator, all from California.
Yeah,
California, very left-leaning state.
Yeah.
And that place, right?
Yeah.
And then when she tried to transition to the national level, she failed miserably.
Yeah. When she was polling on the primaries.
She's never made it out of the primaries.
yeah.
That's not her background. I don't think she can transition into
Yeah.
sort of a more centrist.
Which-
and that's
which-
why people think she's a chameleon, because she says a bunch of things and then, I mean, all politicians do this.
Yeah.
But she also is like incredibly bad at making it seem sincere.
But
I mean,
yeah.
do you think that she's actually a pretty sort of standard corporate executive, right? I mean, there are
Almost,
a bunch
yeah,
of people
correct.
advising her,
Yes.
this is what you should do, this is what you should
Yes,
not do,
correct,
and she just
100%.
follow the
Correct.
the.
Yep.
It's a
I mean,
party issue. It's a party issue.
I mean, you shouldn't blame Biden, and you shouldn't. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many restrictions placed on her, and
Yeah.
she's not of a type who would say that. Okay, I don't care about this.
She's a career politician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
No,
falls in
She
line.
plays safe. Yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't blame the individual in this case. It's the party. But at the same point, you have to also present some personal agency, right?
So
There's accountability.
There-
Yes,
there-
I agree.
you
I
can't.
agree.
You
So
just can't
basically
say
you need-
it's the system and I have no personal accountability, right? You
yeah,
have
I
to-
mean, what I'm saying is that I mean, in a campaign when you need to communicate directly to like hundreds of millions of voters, and you probably need to have something that especially when you're facing against a candidate who knows how to communicate well.
But she
And
didn't.
you play the safe line
Yeah.
of communications. It's not going to work. I mean, you talk about all this virtue. You talk about and the good things. And
It's like
it doesn't
Hillary
relate.
Clinton all over again, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is kind of like
it's a party
like-
mistake again.
exactly
It's kind of like
like-
Hillary
I,
mistake.
I still think Hillary Clinton is
A bit better.
much better.
Of course, she's a
No,
more
I think Hillary
powerful
Clinton was
person.
much worse. But
Really?
Why?
so strategically, Hillary Clinton's campaign was much worse.
Oh yeah,
Ah,
yeah. Not as
Yeah.
a candidate in
As
itself.
again, she's a candidate for her time. These are all
Yeah, yeah.
You can't,
So
it's
it's hard to compare
It's hard to
across
compare
times.
because you
Yeah.
have to see how well they performed in that moment in time.
Yeah, I
right.
agree. Yeah.
And Hillary Clinton was she was more well known. She had a better track record.
Yeah.
But the problem with Hillary Clinton was, and actually, the problem with Democrats in general is they're just incredibly arrogant. Right. Like
Coastal
Hillary-
elite problem.
It is it's 100% a coastal elite problem, right? Like, you mean this is well known, but Hillary Clinton didn't campaign in any swing states
That's wild.
in her during
That's wild.
It was wild.
That is pretty
And
arrogant,
then
actually.
and it's incredibly arrogant. And then people are surprised that she lost.
Yeah.
Like, why would that be a surprise to anyone?
Did you guys watch that Joe Rogan interview with Musk?
No, clips of it. not
Again, I
Rogan.
watched
I
whole
speed
thing.
ran it.
I watched half
2x.
of it. But
Oh
I
yeah, we watched a
the
little bit
whole
of it.
interview with
Yeah,
Trump.
I did. Yeah.
I watched that whole interview, and there's one part where Joe Rogan was saying that when Trump appeared on his show, and Harris' campaign called him saying that, hey, we want to be on that show as well, but you need to fly to us, and she only has 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And
That's
Trump did
arrogance.
like 3 hours.
Yeah.
In the Joe Rogan studio and stuff.
Incredibly arrogant.
Well, he knew. I mean, that's his base actually. Well, and it made sense.
No, but this is I read that this is also incredibly stupid. right? Because his base, Rogan's base, is actually the exact base that she needed.
That's true. Yeah, she should. She
And
should
he
have.
has
She
it's
shoulda
the
did it.
biggest and
Yeah.
it's the biggest podcast in the world.
Yeah.
The guy got like you've all seen the numbers, right? That
Yeah.
video got like 40 million views
Which-
of a 3-hour podcast.
I tell you what happened, okay? Her team members all got together and said, oh, it's so risky to put on
Correct,
camera
'cause, yeah,
for
that's-
so
that's the
long.
narrative.
That's
the narrative.
Let's try to control this. Let's try to control
Which
this.
is stupid.
Let's fly him over and let's not make it happen.
Yeah.
So it's all this, like, you don't have your own ideas, you just listen to your team. And that's where,
Junior.
I mean, something
sorry.
Deep state. This is deep state.
It's something you
Yes.
typically see in very
Deep
large
team, deep
organization,
team.
right? I mean, when a CEO tries to do something, and you have the PR department, you have the
Exactly
internal
that.
communication
That's
department,
exactly
you
what
have
happened.
risk, compliance, legal. Everybody comes and say you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I mean, unless the CEO is the founder, otherwise he would think twice about what he's going to talk about.
So I think that's you said exactly. I'm thinking the same thing, right? You're right. It's a question between like, are you like a professional manager?
Yeah.
Or are you a founder?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
founder
Yeah,
mode.
Yeah. Founder mode.
Trump is definitely a founder.
Cocaine, right?
We found a
No,
way to
but it's
tie it
true.
back.
It's true. Yeah, I think that if we want to use that analogy and kind of make it relevant to people listening. Yeah, I think Kamala Harris is like a professional manager,
Yeah.
and then you have someone like a Trump or Obama, and these guys are founders.
Yeah,
They'll
founder
push
mode.
through. They'll get shit done, and they'll implement their will and their vision on their organizations.
So,
Yeah.
so
At least campaign wise for Obama.
Yeah.
So back to the conspiracy theory.
Oh God.
No. I mean, do you look at how Biden announced his sort of resignation and his departure from the campaign, and how he nominated Harris, and it was done over X.
I don't remember. But yeah.
Yes,
it
it
was done over as an announcement and letter on X. He didn't come and talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
So at that time, people saying that Biden is not making decisions. Somebody who controlled handle of his X account just released it.
Elon Musk.
Could be, but now if you think about that, it could be that he knew that if he announced I don't know anything, and that there would be something that he can't control, so he might as well set up Kamala Harris for failure. Bypassing all this, communication.
Jeez,
restrictions.
really, what are you listening to?
Okay. Since
No,
we're
how can you deny that possibility?
Yeah, he
I mean,
could have made a
you
deal
don't
with
believe
Trump.
in it,
I can't deny it.
How,
You're right.
how can you disprove
Okay,
it?
You can't.
Obviously.
Although I did see a really funny joke.
Yeah.
Someone posted,
Yeah.
I can't phrase it exactly. Basically said, "Oh, Elon Musk is such an idiot. He spent $40 billion on X and only got full control of the executive, legislative, and judicial branch of the U.S. government. He got ripped off. What a terrible business person."
Yeah. That's a pretty good joke, actually.
But do you think that the next 4 years, Trump is going to achieve something significant?
Well, define significant.
We have talked about, nobody is able to exercise any change because of the deep state, because of organizational inertia, because of all this, all that. Can
No,
he do something
I just think
meaningful?
the goals of the
Trump will fix it. Yeah, I don't know.
It's not that. There's some fundamental problems in America, right? The dollar hegemony is one. The trade deficit that's just taking in all the trade from all over the world. So how do you fix this? It's quite hard to reset this.
Well, you can't. Number one, you have to run. If you are the reserve currency of the world, you have to, by definition, run a deficit on trade.
Yes, exactly.
You can't. Those are
Yeah.
intrinsically linked together, right? And I don't think that's you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
That's impossible.
Now that the whole world
But
doesn't
I
wanna
think
play
the
ball
trade
anymore,
deficit is not actually an even issue anymore. Like imports are only like 10% of the U.S. economy. It's not. It's immaterial. I think what the big question is what happens to the budget, the deficit, and the regulatory environment. And if you can do something in any of these
It's big. It's a big win
arenas,
already.
I would consider that a significant win. And I think that's why people voted for him, right? People recognize that the current monetary fiscal situation is not good, and someone needs to come and change this.
Well, you mean on a simple level, like my life is not good now, and then
Yeah, most people are. Yeah,
The
correct.
average-
You're right.
the
you're right.
average
Yes,
voter.
Yes,
Yeah.
most people. So this, yeah, right. Let's break up the voters here. It's low information voters and high information
Yes,
voters.
correct.
For most low information voters, they just say, my dollar is now significantly less valuable than it was 4 years ago. Things are more expensive. I make less money. Blah blah blah. Blame whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's why Trump won.
Yeah.
Right. But then you have, I guess, the more high
people looking at issues.
the high,
Yeah,
the
making
high
decisions.
information, all the tech bros, essentially, right?
Yeah.
If you people do all in podcasts,
But let's do one
where
for
they talk
Trump,
about where they talk about like deficit,
Yeah.
the regulatory
Yeah,
environment,
yeah.
blah
Yeah,
blah. blah.
yeah,
They're all kind of related, right?
So How do you think about tariffs?
I think you have to say so. The thing about tariffs is I think you have to. Well, there's two things, right?
Yeah.
You have to evaluate everything that Trump says in the context of he's trying to make a deal, right? If there's one thing we can all agree on is that he's a deal maker. He likes to make deals. So he says a lot of ridiculous things as a leverage point when making a deal.
Yeah.
Right. It's a negotiation tactic. So he says, I'm going to implement like 100, what did he say? Like 100% tariffs on Chinese products. It's not going to be 100%.
Yeah.
There'll be something, but it's like, this is where I start. You give me something, I give you something, blah,
correct.
blah, 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 blah. Right? But he implemented a lot of tariffs, right? And I think that's very interesting because when he implemented the Chinese tariffs in his first term, it had like no effect on the U.S. economy. U.S. economy was fine. It just kept chugging along.
It had lots of effect on the Vietnamese and Mexican economy.
But it had a lot of, yes, exactly. But it crushed a bunch of other people's economy. The Chinese economy just destroyed, right? Because, and I think that's super interesting. And he's using that as like a negotiation tool. It's like, oh, you want me to lower your tariffs? Then, I don't know,
because
stop subsidizing solar cells or something, right?
Because he knows that eventually all this like private enterprises from China, from wherever, they are going to adjust.
Yeah,
and eventually you would not, unless like he does universal tariff, right? Otherwise it's not going to impact the US economy.
Yeah, correct. So
and he knows that.
Yeah, exactly. He's that, the other party's not stupid, right? So.
So in that Joe Rogan interview with Musk, which I watched the whole thing, the question of tariff was also asked. I mean, like, Joe Rogan was asking Musk, how do you think about all these tariffs? And I think that was a question that Musk actually thought about it before making an answer. And he was saying that first, he agrees with sort of, making manufacturing sort of great in the US. He loves manufacturing, but also we don't underestimate, how much manufacturing there is still in the US. It's still the second largest manufacturer in the world. And the second is that when you do tariffs, and you can do it. If you're right, but if you do it suddenly, and that's going to put lots of people in difficulties, especially some of the businesses, smaller businesses.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, essentially say that. Yeah.
Well, I think. Yeah. So the thing about U.S. manufacturing is there is a lot of manufacturing, but it's all high tech, high end manufacturing, which is not it's not the same kind of manufacturing that's done in, say, like the PRC, right? And you can't. The reason why it's so difficult to replicate the PRC manufacturing ecosystem outside of the PRC is it's integrated all down the supply chain.
Yes.
Like the suppliers of your manufacturers, the suppliers of those suppliers, suppliers of those suppliers, all the way to like the raw materials. They've all been, it's like decades of infrastructure investment built up. You can't replicate that overnight. And the second point I would say about that is I think you have to evaluate the means and you have to evaluate the goals, right? I would argue if your goal is to set up or rejuvenate U.S. manufacturing and the industrial base, it's actually probably more effective just to deregulate certain parts of the infrastructure so people can actually build things, right? So one thing I've actually heard that I think is a pretty compelling argument is for setting up like special economic zones, like what they did in the PRC. No, I'm serious. Like what they did in China in like the late 80s, early 90s, where you say, okay, in like this area of the desert, you can build whatever the fuck you want. You can build all the nuclear reactors. You can build all the factories. We don't care about the squirrels
private sector
and that live there, and they just do whatever, and then we'll come back and dock, right?
There's a theory I recently heard from a pretty famous historian in China, and I will not name who that is because I was not. What he told us not in line with what the government is talking about, right?
Oh.
Be careful there.
Outside people thought about, the government in China having far side, right? They built all these industrial parks, etc.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to create infrastructure before all the demand and all the supply comes.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
And his theory is that the whole thing was tied to. I think I might have talked about that briefly in some of the previous discussions. Is that in 1994 there was this tax reform. Which meant that the central government was collecting most of the regular taxes, and that whole thing created the economy of the local government revenue collection based on land sales. And because of land sales, they create all these things. To make land valuable, and they create all this like industrial parks.
Yeah.
But for like 5-6 years, all these industrial parks were empty until China joined WTO.
Yeah, I believe
that saved their grace. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true. That's probably true.
Makes sense.
And it's a matter of luck.
Yeah, I believe you.
And it's a matter of luck
timing.
and all these like private enterprises which actually seize that opportunity. Then
I mean, they also have
things
to build
become what is
infrastructure
straight.
too. So yeah, that's the luck part, I guess.
And the problem is that no other government can do that at that scale. I mean, whether it's foresight or whether it's sort of luck.
Yeah.
Not easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's see how Trump does in the next 2 months.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Why are you talking in an
Comes in
Indian
office.
accent?
I'm not. This is a Malaysian accent.
What do you think he's going to do with Ukraine and Israel?
He says he can stop it in an hour. So
Yeah, you can. It's easy to stop it. Stop
just make a
stop giving the
deal.
money.
make a deal with Putin.
I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, let's be
Well,
honest.
yeah.
No, let's be honest, right? Like, that was a bit of a
But
flippant remark,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
from like a U.S. geopolitical standpoint, those two countries don't matter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They don't.
Geopolitically,
they don't.
It matters more for Europe.
Russia probably matters if you want to contain China.
No. This is great. So let's get into politics.
Okay.
So as you know, historically, or in any strategy, right? Like you always play. You find your biggest competitor, right? And then you make friends with the person that's kind of right next to them that poses the largest threat to them besides you,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then the U.S. has done this
Yeah.
for decades, especially with Nixon and China when he opened up China in the 70s, right? The calculus at the time was like,
So no, it's at the beginning, yeah.
Russia is there.
Yeah, bad guy.
Let's go make friends with China,
Yeah.
and then they can kind of like have some friction,
Yeah.
and
I
then
think
that's good
China
for me.
thought the same thing when they partnered with the US.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same
Let's
thing.
use this opportunity to gain from the US
Yeah.
right, against Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree. I agree
Yeah.
with the
Everyone plays
analysis.
this game. Yeah?
Everyone plays this game. It's this is basic, like geopolitics 101.
Yeah.
Right. And I agree with all the analysis that says, like, pushing Russia towards China and strengthening that bond is stupid from a U.S. geopolitical perspective. Like,
Yeah.
and then honestly, I really think it's all the people in the military saying, let's have a war
Yeah.
so we can make more guns and
Yeah,
make more
yeah.
money. Deep state.
Yeah,
Back to the
deep
deep.
state.
Yeah, I really believe that's true, right? But if you think about like practically, that's a really stupid strategy long term, right? So I agree. Like they should make peace
Yeah.
in
Yeah, so-
Ukraine,
so
and then they should try to be friends with Russia again. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too
Yeah, it's too
deeply into.
tense.
I don't know, right? That I don't know, but like you should definitely not make the number 2 and number 4 guy, wherever Russia is right now, like both really mad at you and give them incentives to dislike you together.
Yeah.
That's
correct.
stupid.
Just bonds them together.
Yeah.
So still back to the point, Russia matters for the U.S. Geopolitics.
Yeah, of course, Russia matters in the context of China, though.
Yeah.
If China doesn't exist, Russia doesn't matter.
True.
Right.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah.
And all these worries, I mean, from the U.S. allies, right? I mean, if you look at the collapse of the German government, it happened like 2 days after Trump got elected.
Yeah.
and I think that timing was calculated as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah. So Scholz is saying that okay, there's nothing I can do to save this. Might as well put things for election.
Yeah.
Yeah, give a mandate. So all these worries and of course, I've read like 50 articles about people saying that okay, how this is going to impact Asia. Everyone's like saying the same lines. I don't think everyone's like as informed as they should be about
What are they
like.
saying?
I can't even remember. Yeah.
I think it's good for Asia.
Yeah,
Trump.
good. I mean, this is
Yeah.
different from what everyone's saying.
Yeah, I think,
Everyone's saying that. I can't remember the exact lines, but okay, he's going to impact the manufacturing. He's going to increase tariff. He's going to,
Yes,
that's just nonsense.
no,
That's just like
so
this is all
like
headlines, yeah.
every single media analysis I see is about it. I mean, I was looking for something different, and this is where I probably like sped read. That's why I couldn't remember any of like detailed points made.
It's all blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's all the same. It's
Yeah.
all the same. It's all the same. It's all the professors making these judgments and stuff. And
No, I don't believe that. I think it's gonna be good.
yeah. Tell me more.
Well, I mean, just look at what's happened, right? Like, Trump comes into power in 2016? Is it 2016? Yeah, because he lost 2020, right?
2017, January 2017, right?
Yeah, well,
He won
20,
it.
Yeah. End of it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Point still stands, right?
Yeah.
He creates this friction with the PRC,
Mm-hmm.
and basically he starts this process of like, where the U.S. actually legitimately or at least puts it in the broad conversation where they actually start to question that relationship with China, right? Before everyone kind of went like, oh, it's globalism, neoliberal, pie gets bigger, it's good for everyone, right? That was kind of the line that everyone told.
Yeah.
He starts this process, puts us on the radar. We have this decoupling that starts, and some of the manufacturing for strategic reasons, for business reasons, starts to get moved out of the PRC. Where does a lot of that go? It goes to places like Vietnam. It goes to places like Mexico. It goes to places like Malaysia. It goes to places like India. Yeah. So yeah, I think for China specifically, it's probably not going to be a great 4 years. But I think for the rest of the region, it's going to be really beneficial because all that stuff has to be made. There's still demand for all that stuff. It's unlikely that it's going to continue being made in the PRC. And where does it go, right? Whenever there's a large conflict between global powers historically, it's always the third parties that actually end up benefiting the most, right? The two that
suffer
are
the most.
Well, that's debatable. Okay,
Yeah, Trump's own, yeah.
Or something. No, but like World War II,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
like the Europeans
Yeah.
was a de facto power. They had like this big, fight, and then the U.S. was like the third party for the most part of it, and then
Yeah.
they came in, and then afterwards they had like this glorious 80 years of prosperity, right? I think it's been the same, right? The U.S. and the China will have conflict, and then it's really down to each administration on the level to see how well they play the two sides off each other and what concessions they can get, right? And if you're good at this, you can make a lot of, you can gain a lot for your country. So then I think it's down to how well they manage and maneuver this, right?
But it depends on the Southeast Asian countries too, then, or Asian,
Yeah, so it's
Asian
down.
countries
It's
too. They
down.
have
It's down to
react
each.
it too.
So each one has to pick, and you
Yeah.
kind of play it off each other, right?
Yeah,
So
you
the
have to see
Philippines does this quite well. Like when Duterte was around, he was very pro-China,
Yeah.
and then they started building some bases and missiles, and now he's like pro-US, trying to get some
Yeah.
concessions,
Yeah.
right?
I was thinking about Duterte the other day because I know some people who participated in the last campaign.
Duterte's?
No,
Or not? He
the-
gets have bonbons.
the other sides. But anyway, so Duterte had to be close to China because he was an outsider in the Manila establishment. He had to find allies.
Did he? He was kind of.
He
no.
was from the south, and he was always a mayor of Davao, and he didn't have a political base in Manila.
No, I know. But he's also implicitly backed by the Marcoses.
Was he?
Yeah. There's a great
Duterte
document.
was back
There's a great
in
documentary.
like 1980s.
Yeah, there's a great documentary
Interesting.
about this called The Kingmaker. It's about Isabel Marcos, but it covers like the whole Marcos political dynasty. I would recommend you watch it if you're
Interesting.
interested in this
Interesting.
particular topic.
So you mean that Duterte was sort of popped up by Marcos in the very first place?
That's
In
what
his early career,
that's the
when this-
assertion that this documentary makes. Correct.
Yeah, but when he went to Manila and you see all this deep state and the establishment trying to curtail him,
Yeah.
trying to rein in what he was trying to do.
Yeah, but I think the Marcoses still had a lot of influence. I mean, look, Bonbon's president again.
Yeah.
Yes, but that has nothing to do with Duterte, right? I mean, you
You don't think so? You don't think what they say? I don't know if actually.
and all this
let me-
drama of like
Yeah.
a bonbon,
Yeah.
having this like public spat with Duterte's daughter and with the vice president.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, actually, you know what? I don't actually know enough of Philippine politics
Yeah, yeah.
to talk about this. Now it's true, blah blah blah. So let me
Yeah.
stop. I'll stop.
No,
there.
it's interesting
I'll do
because
some research.
because you see all these things in common, right? I mean, look at what's happening in Indonesia now with Jokowi's son being the vice president.
Yeah.
And Prabowo promising to sort of continue some of the policies, but I mean, in 1 or 2 years, he might shift that to his own color.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, back to the one. Yeah, no, I think the Trump presidency will be good for Asia.
Yeah.
honestly,
And
at least for Southeast Asia.
What
I
about
mean,
June? What do you think?
I think it'd be better than whatever Kamala could bring to the table.
Why?
Because the trade flows would change a bit.
I-
More things would come over here. Stable, I guess.
But and to like what nuanced sense? Because we just discussed that it's not easy to replicate everything China has in the from a manufacturing capacity, right? So you're saying that governments will react and start.
no,
Build-
but it doesn't have to be
investing more?
everything.
No, I
yeah,
I think
even
I
like
think
2% would be
manufacturing
huge.
will go
You're right.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
But the US, would just say, hey,
Yeah.
we've reduced our
I think-
deficit to China,
It doesn't like.
but all the trade from other countries will go up.
yeah, like
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
to
yeah.
But
China.
does it make sense to bring a factory to the US because of the cost? No way.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
an insane price.
Yeah, to that point, right? So like AirPods are now being manufactured in Vietnam.
Yeah,
do you know
yeah.
how ming? Do you know how big the AirPods business is?
I'm sure it's in the billions.
Yeah, it's like a multi-billion-dollar
it's in the
business,
billions, for sure.
right? So even though AirPods is like
That's
a small
true.
fraction of Apple's overall revenue,
Yeah.
and people are like, oh, it's just AirPods.
No, that's how it starts,
We're still
though.
talking. Yeah, well,
That's
number
how it
one, that's how it
starts.
starts. Number two, it's still a material impact. We're talking about like
Yeah.
a multi-billion-dollar manufacturing
That's big for the
operation
economy. Yeah.
in one country, and that's just one small product line of one country.
And that's very
or of
impactful
one company
for a country.
Yeah,
It's
so
very
it's hugely
impactful.
beneficial.
Yeah.
And the thing is that once the airports, once this big thing moves to Vietnam, and the other manufacturers of similar consumer products will say that, okay, now I have the infrastructure that I can manufacture my
exactly.
own stuff.
Yeah, correct.
2 months ago, I was in Vietnam. I was talking to this Chinese electronics manufacturer who had been in Vietnam for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And they said when Samsung moved over, it became drastically easier for us because all the suppliers started taking this market very seriously.
Exactly.
And previously we had to source everything from China,
Yeah.
and now we have all the suppliers in Vietnam.
Exactly.
And and also, I think at the end of the day, we talk about these policies, and there's another player you should look at is the Chinese private enterprises, right? Previously, I've spoken with lots of bosses in the recent month, and previously they were sort of saying that, okay, if there's no Trump, if there's no additional tariff, they would carry on with all the difficulties they have in China. But now I think if the tariff increases, if it becomes increasingly difficult for China to trade directly with the US, and these guys would be forced to move.
Yeah.
And when you are forced to move, knowing these guys, they deal with the challenge along the way. And when they typically flop is that when they have choices. When they have choices, they don't know where to focus. But if you say that, okay, there's no choice, you have to build a factory in Vietnam, you have to build a factory in, Malaysia, Mexico, they figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And in a way, if the governments in this region know, they probably know how to harness this well, and they create jobs, they create opportunities, they shift some of the technologies to this part of the world.
Correct. Also, it's also capital,
Yeah,
right? I was having dinner with a friend the other day, and then his kids go to international school here, and he was telling me that in the last 12 months alone, there's been I think 120,000 immigrants from the mainland to just KL.
There's a lot.
That's a lot, and then those people
You can notice it.
They bring a lot of money. They'll consume services. They'll send their kids to school. They'll buy condos. They'll hire drivers or start companies or whatever. Right? It's hugely beneficial.
I know a dozen of them, and some of them are looking at the industry saying that, hey, I'm tired. I don't want to build a business on my own. But I look at in this industry, I know clearly there are rooms for improvement.
Yeah,
and I'm just advising somebody I can trust to build this business up.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be great to be in Southeast Asia the next 4 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Good.
Make a convincing argument.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree. Yeah.
Cool. Echo chamber. We can just I agree with you. You
I
agree
like
with
you.
me.
You're
Oh,
pretty.
yeah.
You're pretty. You're handsome.
Yeah. Let's all be intelligent together. We need a dissenting voice.
Making a true bro podcast right here.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, that's it, right?
Hey
Anything
guys,
else?
we got. You don't want to hear anything about from June?
Oh yeah, June. Tell us about your
Since
new
we
venture.
trapped June here, let's tell us about your new venture.
I
Really
want to hear
quickly
about your new
before we
venture.
end.
Oh, the crematorium.
Let's hear the pitch. Yeah, let's
Let's
hear
hear
the
the
pitch.
crematorium.
Give us an elevator pitch and then tell us problem, solution,
Yes.
market. Let's hear it. Go.
We are basically turning Asia's...
Who's we?
We, like my company.
What,
right?
okay, your company is?
We aim to convert Asia's biomass into carbon. Yeah. So I
Isn't
think
biomass-
fundamentally...
Green Glow,
we have
your company, Green
yes,
Glow.
it's called Green Glow. We have spent trillions and trillions of dollars, across...
You have spent trillions of
No,
dollars.
we as human beings... we as
shut up,
human
both of you.
beings,
Let the guy talk.
have went this way of extracting fossil fuels, for the past 100 years. And let's put a number on this. What do you think we spend on oil and gas and coal?
In what, Malaysia or globally?
Globally.
Oh,
It's probably around what,
Trillions.
25, 30 trillion,
Trillions.
dollars.
Global GDP is like $30 trillion, and the energy
Yeah.
cost is like roughly 20% of everything you consume. So
over
doing
the many
math,
years.
Yeah.
So there are gigatons of fossil fuels we've taken out.
Yeah.
So I think if we really believe in climate change and it's happening, there has to be the infrastructure to go the other way, right? So you think about it. If you spend 30 taking things out, you got to spend at least 30 or more, putting it back in. Yeah. So I think this is a generational business for me. I want my kids to run it too. So I'm trying to build out our carbon dioxide removal.
Tries to build a family business.
Our carbon dioxide removal infrastructure in Southeast Asia. Yeah. And the pathway that's the lowest hanging fruit is to take biomass and carbonize it into biochar.
what do you mean by biomass?
Biomass is just basically any biological matter that has carbon
From like
inside.
agriculture.
Yes,
from
mainly from
waste,
agriculture.
Palm.
Correct,
palm
correct,
waste.
correct.
What is biochar?
Biochar is basically biocharcoal.
So you take this mass, like this waste, and then you
Yes, you char it into biochar,
In the machine,
and that
right?
becomes basically biological coal. Right?
They
It's
burn it.
manufactured engineered coal. No, you don't burn it. If you
Speak
burn
closer
it,
to the mic.
if you burn it, it defeats the purpose of taking the carbon out of the air. Right? You bury it. Just as how we have taken coal out of the ground, we create coal and put it back in the ground.
Oh, you bury it? I thought you used it for more energy.
Like barbecue.
No, that would defeat the purpose of
No, but it's just
carbon
net
dioxide
zero
removal.
then. What? Then it's net zero if you burn it, right?
Yes,
Hold on, I mean,
is net zero if you burn it.
How do you do this in energy efficient way? How do you sort of? I mean, because
Electricity.
I think the whole
Electricity.
process of doing that will
Yeah,
consume lots of energy, right?
No, the charring process is it's self powering,
Mm-hmm.
right? So once you got like your initial biomass charred, the reaction keeps going, because it's basically a fire without combustion.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So once you break the carbon cycle here, you don't release the biomass that would otherwise rot back into the air. You break the whole carbon chain. You sequester the carbon through biochar, and it's very helpful, for the agriculture industry. If you return this carbon to the fields, it solves the problem of this.
Yeah, but
depleted
I thought
soils.
from a business model perspective, this works much better when you just sell the coal.
Yeah, I thought you were selling the coal.
No,
like-
I mean, if you
connect
sell
it-
the coal, you only get the energy cost of the coal, which means like you get coal revenues, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, correct.
And if you don't
Is
sell
Is
it,
that the
don't get
most
anything.
profitable model?
If you have biochar, you have two uses of it. Number one, it's as good as fertilizer, so that's one revenue stream. Number two, there's the carbon dioxide removal certificates revenue
Carbon
stream.
credits.
Yeah, so the value you get from this biomass is around 3 to 4 times more than just selling it for coal.
But if you sell it, you don't get the carbon credits, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so, right?
Because you're still removing the carbon.
Yes,
removing the carbon.
You can't burn it. So,
Oh, you can't burn it.
as part of getting the certificate, right, you have to prove that it ends up back in the soil.
I see. So if you so it's a binary choice. You have to either go down this path of
Yes.
selling the coal,
Yes.
or you get the carbon
So-
credits / selling as fertilizer.
Correct.
I got it. Okay.
So I introduced you to that investor who invested in the Australian biochar, and he prefers the model of selling
Yeah,
coal.
actually,
So what did he say?
I did
Why?
So you are saying that there's already a company doing that in Australia, which has
There's many
proven that-
companies
There
doing
are many
this.
companies
actually.
doing
Okay.
this.
China,
There's many,
a lot.
there's many.
Yeah, there's many.
Okay.
So what did he say? Why did he prefer?
I think this company wasn't successful in getting an off-taker for the carbon credits, right?
'Cause it was a different
they
time
had
period, or-
they had a product called metallurgical coal,
Okay.
which sells for a bit higher than coal.
Okay.
Yeah. But still would be just half the revenues possible if you were to do both streams.
Okay.
So I actually sent him a large contract for off-taker, right?
Yeah.
Of like 100,000 tons. I think he's more interested now.
Oh,
So we're still discussing.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, good.
So I think he sees the potential,
So you gotta get some traction then.
Yeah, got to slowly put it there. I mean, if you're, it really depends. But for me, thinking of how to maximize this biomass waste is key, and what are the maximum revenues you can get through different pathways.
Sorry, go ahead first.
Can I ask you a cynical question?
Cynical, yeah, sure.
As friends.
Yeah.
As friends. How much of this you're doing because you just see it as a good business opportunity, and how much of this is greenwashing?
It's both,
Yeah, of course it's both. How
I see the
you
smirk.
have to lean one side. No, I mean, as
Oh, yeah,
friends,
okay, okay.
as friends, I'm
Answer, yeah,
curious.
well, just I'll let you.
You can
answer.
cut it out later, right? You don't have to.
No, I do think
I'll give a real answer.
scientifically we have to have some capacity to remove carbon. Yeah, and because this is needed, I believe it's a sustainable business. Yeah.
So opportunity. You
It's-
think it's a good business
Yeah,
opportunity?
it's
That's
also
first and
it also
foremost.
makes money. Yes.
Yeah.
Things have to make money to make an impact. Right? It
Yeah,
doesn't
I
make
agree.
sense to start something that doesn't work out in the next 5 years.
It has to be self-sustaining.
Yeah, self-sustaining.
I agree. Yeah.
Long term.
So first and foremost, I'm really going to peg you for an answer. First and foremost, you think it's a good opportunity, and it has nice carry-on effects.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
And you believe the vision will get there. Like this will be contributing to the infrastructure that removes the carbon from the world and
Correct.
makes it greener.
Correct. Like if you put the perspective, right, the feedstock that we're targeting, if we were to get a good market share of carbonizing it, we can actually easily decarbonify all the cars in Malaysia. That's how much of impact this feedstock has.
I believe that.
The
Agriculture is a
amounts
big
available.
contributor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe
So
that.
basically, I just want to understand business model a little bit. So there's a technology which is there, which is mature,
by China.
and you take this technology and you
Yeah.
essentially you become I don't know.
Project
How should-
developer, asset owners. We
Yeah,
own
it's
the
like
CDR
a-
infrastructure.
It's like
You build multiple factories.
Yeah.
You take the existing technology and you create factories and you run this process and there's certain revenue sort of profit margin on on that side. So essentially, you are an asset operator.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an asset
Yeah.
model, correct?
Yeah.
We're an
Okay.
asset operator,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with I don't know what kind of returns.
I can show you the papers. We have.
You send me some pictures.
a
I can pop it up on the screen.
EBITDA of 65%. Accounting for depreciation. We have a net profit around 44%. These are the margins. That we get with the current offtake prices.
So it's 44%. I mean, if it's that, how's that going in China, the business? Because if it's that good, and I would say like thousands of companies are rushing into it.
They are actually. I think a couple of hundred companies doing it in China now. Yeah. Of course, access to biomass in China is a bit crowded, right? Because a lot have been used, for biofuels. Yeah, but biofuels is of course the lowest value use of it. Yeah.
So access to biomass is challenging.
Yes.
And the EBITDA in Malaysia is higher because nobody's competing for you to get this biomass.
Exactly. So this feedstock it's just there. It's been wasted. Obviously,
starting.
if you start paying
Interesting.
higher prices for your feedstock, right, then the EBITDA goes down by a lot. Yeah.
But I've heard, I have another friend doing something similar. He's doing it with like biomethane, right? And he's been working on this business for, I don't know, 3-4 years now, mostly out on the east side. Similar, right? That you work with plantations
Yeah.
to get their offshoot byproducts, and then you convert it to something more useful, blah blah blah. And I don't know. For me, I didn't ask him clearly enough, I guess, but it seems to be a couple of hurdles here. Like one is like you have to work with the local governments. I believe there's some element of working with the governments.
Not really.
No?
Like our business model is quite simple. We go to a plantation that has a mill, and we say, okay, we're going to co-locate this asset next to your mill. We provide this service for your EFB. We turn it to biochar.
So your ESV? What's the ESV?
EFB is the empty fruit bunches.
Okay.
The biomass that we are working with, right? And the deal is we put the machine there, we invest in the machine. The useful product that's biochar, you take it back to the field and you pay us, at just cost, right? We run this at cost for you. It's beneficial. You can stop using 20% fertilizers, go towards organic instead. So they get cheaper fertilizers for the field. And all the carbon credits that we generate from the project, that's my portion of the business.
And so when you talk to these, have you talked to any of the plantation owners yet?
Yes, so
Not your own.
not my own.
Third party
I don't
ones.
have a mill.
Yeah.
So
What's the feedback?
The current off-taker that I have, the first project that we're going to work on is 4 mills in Sabah. Yeah. So they have we have an understanding that we'll put the machines in and they'll buy at a certain price for the biochar.
And this is like what, an annual contract, or this is like a 10-year contract? or
15
what?
years.
15 years.
Yeah.
Pricing is guaranteed, or it fluctuates with
No, we benchmark the biochar price to CPO, so it has to be
whatever the market rate is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crude palm oil, right? Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because once a plantation decides on this, right, like using biochar for the whole field, it's a multi-year effort. It takes around 10 years to deploy across the whole catchment area of your mill.
Why does it take so long?
Because one mill probably has around 40,000 acres of estate land supporting it, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So the amount of production that we have is, let's say, 15,000 tons a year. And to deploy it across your whole catchment area will take a few years.
Oh, you're saying
Yeah.
you're going to make
So
much
everything
more
is
than what's actually
yeah.
usable in any given. So you'll need
No, we will make less than what's needed for the whole year.
But that's my question, right? So
Yeah.
what you're saying is hypothetically, if you run a facility at full capacity, you
Yeah.
could probably
Only
fuel
do like
or fertilize.
5-8% of their fuels per year.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a very aligned incentive, right? Because our machine lasts for 15 years, right? And we want long-term contracts for this.
So the plantations don't need to do anything aside from giving you a piece of land and supplying you with
Yes.
electricity and stuff.
Yes.
One buying the
Well, they got suppliers with the waste.
With the
right?
waste. That's the main thing, yeah.
But we're taking care of the problem for them, so
Yeah.
they get a beneficial product, a cheaper fertilizer.
But if that's the case, shouldn't it be a very easy sell?
Well, how many investors have you talked to?
Quite a number.
So what's the main contention, why they haven't invested yet?
Just I got to work on the offtake contract for the
Okay,
carbon
so they want
credits.
some more traction first.
So
Sorry,
this
they
is a
want
project
what?
development investment, right? So there are a couple of milestones that we have to hit to make the project investment ready.
Okay.
So I think we are around 75% there.
So
The only missing block right now, right, is looking for off-taker for this carbon credits.
I mean, what's
Isn't there just a market for this? Can't you just sell it into the carbon credits market? Like, how does that work actually?
It's not that liquid yet, right? So there are brokers in Europe and US.
Interesting. So even the big carbon markets, it's pure brokerage still?
Yeah, it's
fragmented,
still,
very fragmented.
it's not as if like, you know, I can easily call a trader and liquidate these credits.
They have to hunt for it,
But
yeah.
but eventually it'll get there. I mean, a carbon certificate is just a piece of paper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's greenwashing, right? This is a joke.
It will be, you know, eventually very liquid and very tradable, right?
Well, that's
You
your
think,
thesis.
you think
That's
so?
your
Yeah,
thesis.
that's actually
That's very important for your business, actually.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
How much of the
it's,
business is going to be the carbon credits?
A lot, right?
60% of
Yeah.
revenues.
Yeah.
That's a big portion.
That's a big portion. Yeah, so actually that's an interesting point because you could, you know, we're heading towards carbon neutral naturally, right? So, I mean, I guess one question is like, what happens?
No,
Is the
I
business-
think we
can
have,
the
we have
business
already
sustain without the carbon
overshot it,
credits?
right? Now we're at 3 degrees Celsius, you know, above the baseline. And the problem is like, you know, even if we go net zero, we'll just stop emitting. But the problem is there's 7.5 gigatons of CO2 that needs to be removed just to get us back to, you know, pre-industrial age.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
These are separate questions, right?
It's possible through the biochar route. Yeah, if the whole world starts, you know,
Yeah, but that's what I'm
turning the agricultural waste into biochar.
if the whole world
If
does
the whole
it, which is what I'm saying. I think
What's
it's
your
possible.
market share?
Well,
What's your-
no,
the
but-
whole
but-
market.
What's your
no.
target market?
So-
the entire
so-
GDP of the world,
Yes.
So
$30
let-
trillion.
Let's put into perspective. Yeah,
100 trillion,
biochar
100 trillion.
production, right, has went from 150,000 tons 2 years ago. Last year was 530,000 tons, and this year it's set to hit 1.2 million tons of biochar, and 70% comes from US. Yeah, so it's
70%.
70% of the production increase has occurred in the US. Yeah.
What's the use case there? There's
Same model. There's like
plantations.
carbon credits, and actually the US has one of the most degraded soils in the whole world.
The what?
Degraded soils.
Degraded
Soils.
soils.
Yes,
Degraded
yes,
soils.
yes.
Degraded soils.
Yeah,
Speaking
yeah.
to the mic.
All your soybean, wheat
Yeah.
fields, right?
Yeah,
has
monocrop
been
agriculture.
has been farmed for many
So they
generations.
need better, yeah.
the soil carbon back in the field. Yeah.
When you say you talk to investors, they want to see more traction. What exactly do they
Not traction. They just want to see an offtake contract for the carbon credits, right? So
traction.
I've not
Need to
sold.
guarantee-
I've not sold my output.
So for the proof that this business model actually
Essentially,
works.
what he's doing is, if you want to make an analogy to another asset class, like
It's
say
a
real
project
estate,
financing.
he's doing a speculative development deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So when you
yeah,
do
correct,
spec
correct,
dev,
correct.
you build a building and you say, oh, I believe that someone will come here and rent my building.
Yes,
it's
correct.
kind of similar, right? You're going to have the factory.
I wouldn't
but
say
then you-
speculative.
So you can
I have-
generate like recurring income based on
It is.
the,
That's exactly
There's
what
no
it is.
speculation
It's a
here.
yeah.
It's an offtake contract. So
yeah, it's a bit different
yeah.
because but the same. It's
I
like,
have sales lined up
would
to fund this project.
Yeah, correct. So maybe you're right. Speculative is bad for it, but it's like saying like I have a tenant that needs a building somewhere, and he says, "Can you build it for me?" I'm like, "Yes, I can build it for you."
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
That's
yes,
essentially what
yeah,
you're doing.
yeah, yeah.
The same thing.
Yeah.
So investors have, I mean, they want to see that whether this business model works, or they want to see that whether you can actually make this business work.
I think the investors just care about a safe asset to invest in, and one of the big levers for it is like, you know, if you build the asset, can you get the cash flows for it? And traditionally, you know, for a project financing for this asset, in many asset-based businesses, it's the case. You got to have your rental agreements, your sales agreements, your
Yep.
offtake agreements.
I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Once you
I
have
see.
that, you can say, you know,
The
maybe
nice,
80% is off taken, 20% on spot or whatever, you know. But
Yeah, yeah.
these are solid back agreements that you have with reputable companies that can buy.
I see.
And then they'll lend the money or like, you know, to fund the project.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been working on for the past 8 months, and we're very close to setting up our first facility.
Nice.
What's your timeline?
I think by mid next year, you know, we'll start construction once we
And then
get all
construction
the-
6 months.
Well, China speed. So
China speed.
the
Two?
machine we can order
Yes, Sabah.
in 4 months' time, you know, it'll come, and it's a modular system. So
The
there's
machine
not
will
much.
come with workers from China, I guess.
Yeah, does it come?
Yeah,
with,
yeah. It comes with
Chinese labor?
it
right?
comes with an engineer
Just matters a
for
lot.
$200 a day.
What about parts and stuff? You still have to import if it breaks down, and because there's no supply chain probably for this.
No, we got to buy all the spare parts, of course.
Well,
No, but it's a maintenance contract
Yeah,
for these things,
okay.
right?
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
buy
yeah,
the
yeah.
machine, comes with a maintenance usually comes with a
Well,
maintenance contract,
X
a service
amount of
maintenance
time.
contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend who manufactures transformers, and he did a project in, I can't remember with Sabah or Sarawak, like before COVID. And I mean, of course, he sent the machines, he sent engineers. After about like 2 months, he sent all the like assembly workers.
Own assembly workers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because he said the
So
machine-
he couldn't find a
I mean,
local contractor to do the fit out.
He said it was impossible.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes a lot of
yeah.
sense, actually.
Yeah.
For transformers, maybe more technically complex, like, you know. For this case, well, you know, my co-founder is an engineer. That's very helpful. I've seen an implementation in another state in Malaysia, and looking at how it's installed, I think we can easily find the general contractors to do it.
Okay.
It's not that complex to do. One reason we pick a modular system is to save on all the infrastructure that we need to install it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who else plays in this market in Malaysia? Are there any big players? Is it?
No, I don't think there's a big name that started it yet.
But there must be at least some other people doing this, right?
No.
You're the
We're
first.
Very, very early.
Really?
Yes.
Or you haven't found them.
Or you haven't found them? Yeah, I find that hard to believe that you're the
No,
first.
I've scouted the whole of Malaysia. We're
He's the
gonna be
founder of
first at this
Malaysia
stage,
for
yeah.
biochar.
I mean, sometimes it's possible. I mean, this is not China, right? Where you find opportunities, suddenly like thousands of people jump into it.
But it's a mature technology, right? What do you
Is it mature?
Yeah.
it's
it's not- this is not a-
You have to
this is not a novel
manufacturing
thing.
4,000
China,
years.
Yeah.
So this is not unproven. So
Yeah,
you-
it's
Yeah,
not
it's not
unproven.
proven.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
the business a bit. So I'm just that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm so surprised that there's no
So
one.
the-
I can believe that there's no big players. It's
Yeah.
fragmented industry. That I believe. But like the fact that there's no one else doing it, I find that I don't know. I don't know. So I
We
don't know.
have charcoal factories,
Yeah.
definitely, but they make charcoal, wood charcoal, right?
but
It's a similar process. But
Wood
this
charcoal?
business model of
Biochar.
where we return biochar to the plantations and
I
we
see.
sell the credit.
I see.
Not
So
been done.
that's what you're
Yeah.
saying. No one else does.
Like-
Is you
like
the
directly.
fact that you're monetizing via fertilization, sales, and
And carbon credits.
That's okay. That I can.
No
so-
one else does. People make charcoal here. That's definite.
Yeah, of course.
We have a charcoal industry since 500 years ago. It's always here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but that's for charcoal.
so it's a similar process.
yeah, pyrolysis is a machine that does this charring.
Yeah. I
So-
mean, it's
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's just who would be your ideal lead investor in this, or what do you need? You like prefer angels? You prefer
No, I think,
institutional-
It's not an
think,
easy route for this.
A big strategic
it's not
investor is a good one. An
For example?
energy company, oil
Energy
and gas
companies?
company,
Okay.
a big plantation company would work well.
What's your ticket size? Like 4 million?
No, it's cheap. This first plant only needs 1.8 million US dollars.
US dollars. Okay.
1.8 million.
What are your projected returns, pro forma returns on that?
I told you the IRR would be around 24% on this.
10 years over
15
15 year
years,
period.
15 years. Yeah. So I think the unlevered cash flows, right?
So you're gonna quadruple someone's money.
Yeah,
3.5x in 15 years.
Yeah. So that's the thing. There are around 1,000 mills in the region. So from one, if you get 500 or 200 mills, that's going to be a big business.
Yeah. Big enough for Malaysia.
No, big enough for. I mean, this is the first step in a CDR infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
We can always move to different kinds of CDR technologies.
Mm.
Yeah. But I want to build a company that is
So what
that
is
generates
what is
CDR?
CDR?
CDRs are carbon dioxide removal certificates.
Okay.
So in the industry, they are carbon credits a bit different from CDRs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
CDRs a bit premium.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. That's
So interesting.
That's what I'm working on.
I've been wanting to understand this for like half a year, and we
Yeah,
did like
we finally got
I'll
Joon.
tell you more over lunch. I have a lot of material in my bag.
All right.
Yeah, I have to be ready to take it out anytime. It's like a magic bag.
Always
You want
be
to see
pitching.
more? I have more. No,
Always
it
be
comes
pitching.
out. Yeah, there's just.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
All the best,
guys.
yeah.
Any
All right, guys.
final questions? Are we done? Happy with Trump? Happy with Joon? Okay, let's go eat.
Let's go.
Let's
Okay.
eat.
Okay, I'm hungry.
Cheers.